Okay, a very good day to my students of class 11 Science Chemistry in the Russian School. Okay. Today, I would like to begin the chapter Chemical Bonding and Molecular Structure. Okay. Now, here in this chapter, chapter 4, let us quickly go through the previous knowledge, past knowledge. What is a chemical bond? First, what is a chemical bond? A chemical bond is the force that holds different atoms in a molecule. Okay, that is a chemical bond. After that, octet rule. Octet rule. Atoms of different elements, atoms of different elements take part in a chemical reaction combination in order to complete their octet or to attain the noble gas configuration. So, complete their octet over here to make a total of 8 electrons finally. Then valence electron means it is the outermost shell electron which takes part in a chemical reaction, chemical combination. Now, there are some facts stated by Purcell in relation to chemical bonding. Remember, in the periodic table, the highly electronegative halogens and the highly electropositive alkali metals are separated by noble gases according to this concept. Formation of anion and a cation by the halogens and alkali metals are formed by gain of electrons and loss of electrons respectively. Both the negative and positively charged ions acquire noble gas configuration possible. Then the negative and positive ions are stabilized. They are stabilized by electrostatic attraction. Example is given for sodium, sodium neon 3s1, so it is losing an electron to become Na plus, that is stabilization. Chloride ion, it is getting stabilized by gain of electrons. Okay. Now come down to modes of chemical combination over here, my students. Modes of chemical combination is possible by transfer of electrons, by sharing of electrons, or by coordinate bond. Okay, this is something which you have learned in your lower classes. Then looking at ionic or electrovalent bond. An ionic or electrovalent bond, it is formed by the complete transfer of electrons from one metallic atom to another non-metallic atom. Okay, so remember, it is generally formed between metals and non-metals. Okay, we can say that it is the electrostatic force of attraction which holds the oppositely charged ions together. The compounds which is formed by ionic or electrovalent bond is known as electrovalent compounds. So, formation of sodium chloride is there. Formation of sodium chloride is there. Then formation of magnesium oxide is there. Okay, this is something which you have done in class 10 as well. There is a word which has been coined over here, electrovalency. Remember that. Electrovalency is the number of electrons lost or gained during the formation of what? An ionic or an electrovalent bond. Okay. This concept you must remember. Then, factors affecting the formation of ionic bond. Very important here. The first factor is ionization enthalpy. Remember, ionization enthalpy. Okay. The next one is electron gain enthalpy, electron affinities. No? So here, keep in mind, lesser the ionization enthalpy, easier will be the formation of a cation and have greater chance to form an ionic bond. Remember that. The key sentence over here. Lesser the ionization enthalpy, easier will be the formation of a cation and have greater chance to form an ionic bond. So, that is the first factor. Lesser ionization enthalpy. The second factor is electron gain enthalpy, where electron gain enthalpy, remember, greater the negative electron gain enthalpy, easier will be the formation of anion. Consequently, the probability of formation of ionic bond also increases. Okay, so they have given example over here by taking sodium, over here by taking chloride. Okay. The third factor is lattice energy, crystal formation energy. Now, please try to remember the meaning of lattice energy. It is a new word for you all. Lattice energy is defined as the amount of energy required to separate 1 mole of ionic compound into separate oppositely charged ions. Okay. Now, here remember, lattice energy of an ionic compound depends upon the following factors. Size of the ions. So smaller the size, greater will be the lattice energy. Charge on the ions, greater the magnitude of charge, greater the interionic attraction, and hence higher will be the lattice energy. So we need smaller sized ions and greater magnitude of charge for the formation of ionic compounds. Okay, I will not go through what you call this general characteristics of ionic compounds. Okay, this you can just go through on your own. Then covalent bond according to Lewis Langmuir concept. So when a bond is formed between two or more atoms, when the bond is formed between two or more atoms by mutual contribution and sharing of electrons, it is known as covalent bond. And generally, covalent bond happens between two non-metallic atoms. Okay. Now they can be homoatomic, heteroatomic as well. Okay. Now we can have a look at some examples of your formation of hydrogen molecule, formation of oxygen molecule. Okay. Then there is formation of water molecule. Okay. Formation of ammonia molecule, electron dot diagram. Okay. Now Lewis representation of simple molecule, the Lewis dot structures. The Lewis dot structures can be written through the following steps. Remember that. Calculate the total number of valence electrons of the combining atoms. Okay. First thing. Each anion means addition of one extra electron and each cation means removal of one electron. This gives the total number of electrons to be distributed. By knowing the chemical symbols of the combining atoms, after placing shared pair of electrons for single bond, the remaining electrons may account for either multiple bonds or as lone pairs. It is to be noted that octet of each atom should be completed at the end of the day. So that is how you have to follow the rules for the Lewis representation of simple molecules, which are called Lewis structures. Okay. Now I am going to show you a very important table in chemistry. Okay, Lewis structures of some typical molecules and ions. I would like you all to go through this table very carefully, very carefully, and try practicing them several times. The first one is carbon monoxide, CO. Carbon, number of electron in the valence shell is, it is 4. Oxygen is 6. So that is how you get the Lewis structure of carbon monoxide. 4, and they said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is how you arrange. There is a triple bond. Carbon oxygen, there is a triple bond. Similarly, for carbon dioxide, oxygen 6 here in the carbon center, it is 4. So arrange them in such a way that you get over here the structure of carbon dioxide. Okay. Then there is oxygen, O2. Okay. Oxygen atom, another oxygen atom. Now each oxygen atom has got how many electrons in its valence shell? 6. 6 plus 6 becomes 12. So arrange the electrons in such a manner: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that is how you show. You should show the Lewis dot structure. So there is a double bond over here. Okay. So that is for oxygen. Then ozone is important. Okay. Learn the electron Lewis structure of ozone. Okay. Ozone 3 atoms of oxygen. Okay. Then there is hydrogen peroxide. Then there is sulfate over here. Sulfur trioxide, sorry. Then there is perchloric acid is important. Lewis structure of perchloric acid, HClO4, HOClO3. It is HOClO3. If you remember this way, it will help you to draw the structure, this structure, okay, over here. That is, first thing, as I've told you in the rules, first get the total number of electrons in the combining atoms. How many electrons are there in the combining atoms altogether? Then you distribute them by forming first single bonds or multiple bonds or triple bonds, and then the remaining electrons as lone pairs, okay, or non-bonding electrons. That was perchloric acid, a very important thing, important structure. Perchloric acid is important. Okay. Then you come down to some more examples. Cyanide ion, Cn minus 1. Cyanide ion over here. Which is cyanide ion, Cn, cyanide ion. Carbon nitrogen is a triple bond, and overall charge is negative over here. Okay. Can represent this way. These are better structures, And that is nitrite ion, NO2 minus 1. So NO2 minus 1. See. Oxygen has 6 electrons in the valence state. Nitrogen has how many electrons? It has 5 electrons. Over here again 6 electrons. Total should be 12 plus 17. So you can check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Why 20? Because minus charge over here, no? That's why it is coming to negative charge. That is nitrite ion. Okay. Then the electron dot structures for sulfate ion, SO4 minus 2. Minus 2 means 2 electrons are more. 2 electrons are more. Okay. So that way this is sulfate ion. Okay, sulfate ion. Okay. And there is over here O2 2 minus. Peroxide ion. Okay. Peroxide ion. O2 2 minus ion. Okay. 2 electrons are extra in the oxygen. Okay. Now let us see what is formal charge. In polyatomic ions, atoms having molecules having more than one atom, the net charge is the charge on the ion as a whole and not by a particular atom. However, charges can be assigned to individual atoms or ions. These are called formal charges. Okay, so formal charges are what? Charges carried by the individual atoms in a species. It may be an ionic species. Okay, that you have to keep in mind to understand that formal charge. There is a formula to calculate the formal charge on an atom in a Lewis structure. The formula is total number of valence electrons in the free atom minus total number of non-bonding lone pair of electrons minus half of total number of bonding, that is shared electrons. Okay, here one example has been done. It does not indicate the real charge. Okay, now let us consider the ozone molecule. The Lewis structure of ozone may be shown below like this over here. So here the first one oxygen is labeled as 1, oxygen 1, oxygen 2, oxygen 3. So this Lewis structure is done from the previous chart over here. So now the central oxygen atom marked as 1, by using the formula 6 minus 2 minus half into 6. This is the formula. Total number of valence electrons in the free state. Total number of valence electrons in the free state for oxygen number 1 in the free state. What is the number of valence electrons in the free state? So let's see this over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The free state 6 minus if you look at the formula, total number of lone pair of electrons. So this oxygen has one lone pair of electrons. So 2 electrons are there. Minus half of bonding shared pair of electrons. So minus half of what are the bonding electron pairs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So bonding electron pairs connected to this oxygen is 6. So 6 into half, that is coming to plus 1. That is the formal charge of oxygen 1 is plus 1. Similarly for oxygen 2, formal charge of this oxygen 2, okay, same 6 minus 1, 2, 3, 4 lone pairs minus half into bonding pairs is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. There are only 4. So it is coming to 0. Formal charge of oxygen is 0. Similarly, the formal charge for oxygen mark 3. 6 minus 6. 6 minus 6 lone pair is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Minus half of only 2 bonding pairs is there. So minus 1. Okay. This you must be able to calculate, formal charge. Okay. Now there are some limitations of the octet too. Like the first case, if you see the incomplete octet of the central atom, in some covalent compound, central atom has less than 8 electrons. It has an incomplete octet. Example of here in lithium chloride, beryllium hydride, boron trichloride. These have incomplete octet. Just check. Only 2 electrons over here. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons. Over here, only 6 electrons. So this is incomplete octet example. This is the first limitation of the octet. Then we have odd electron molecules. There are certain molecules which have odd number of electrons. The octet rule is not applied for all the atoms. Okay. So here it has what? Odd number of electrons. Odd electron molecules. You can see the charge over here, but there is an odd electron on this hydrogen atom. So that makes it what? An odd electron molecule. Then there are examples where we can see the expanded octet also. In many compounds, there are more than 8 valence electrons around the central atom. It is termed as expanded octet. Let us have a look at one example over here. Phosphorus Pf5, sulfur SF6. Phosphorus pentafluoride Pf5. And this one is sulfur hexafluoride. This is a case of expanded octet. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 electrons. Here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12 electrons. Here it is 10 electrons. That is a case of expanded octet. Okay. There are other drawbacks also. We will not go through the other drawbacks. That is not so important over here. What is more important is how to understand bond length. Bond length, it is defined as the equilibrium distance between the centers of the nuclei of the two bonded atoms. Equilibrium distance. Okay. It is expressed in angstrom. Experimentally, it can be derived by X-ray diffraction or electron diffraction method. So here, this distance, this distance comes under what? The term over here, the bond length. The bond length in a covalent molecule AB. This R is Ra plus small rb. R is the bond length and Ra and Rb are the covalent radii of atoms A and B respectively. That is the first thing to remember and understand. Okay. Then moving to the bond angle. What is the bond angle? The bond angle is defined as the angle between the lines representing the orbitals containing the bonding electrons. Now this bond angle helps us in determining the shape. Okay, it can be expressed in degrees. Bond angle can be experimentally determined by spectroscopic methods. Okay, that is another important thing to keep in mind. Then we have bond enthalpy, the energy required to make or break a bond. Okay, it is defined as the amount of energy required to break 1 mole of bonds of a particular type to separate them into gaseous atoms. Okay, bond enthalpy is also known as bond dissociation enthalpy or simple bond enthalpy. Unit of bond is kilojoules per mole. Okay. Greater the bond enthalpy, stronger is the bond. Remember this sentence. Greater the bond enthalpy, stronger is the bond. For example, hydrogen bond enthalpy in hydrogen is 435.8 kilojoules per mole. Okay. Now, this magnitude over here of bond enthalpy is also related to bond multiplicity. When I talk about bond multiplicity, I am talking about single, double or triple bond. Okay. Greater the bond multiplicity, more will be the bond enthalpy, stronger will be the bond. Okay. So let's see in polyatomic molecule, the term mean or average bond enthalpy is used always most of the time. Then you can have a look at this table over here. Average bond enthalpies of some common bonds. Hydrogen single bond, the bond enthalpy is 435.8 kilojoules per mole. We will look at chlorine bond 239. Then bromine bond 196. Hydrogen bond enthalpy is very high compared to carbon single bond because the size of hydrogen is smaller atom. Okay, that is why the bond becomes stronger. Okay. So that is all about the bond enthalpies average. Then the bond order. According to Lewis, in a covalent bond, the bond order is given by the number of bonds between two atoms in a molecule. For example, bond order of hydrogen is 1, oxygen is 2, nitrogen is 3. Single bond, double bond, triple bond. Okay. Now isoelectronic molecules and ions have identical bond orders. For example, Chlorine and oxide O2 2 minus peroxide have bond order 1. Nitrogen carbon monoxide NO plus have bond order 3. With the increase in bond order, bond enthalpy increases and bond length decreases. Remember this. Bond length becomes less. For nitrogen, bond order is 3, bond enthalpy is 946, bond order is for oxygen it is 2, enthalpy is lower. Okay, this is all about the bond order over here. Now coming to another important topic in chemistry, resonance structures. Resonance structures. There are many molecules whose behavior cannot be explained by a single Lewis structure. For example, Lewis structure of ozone represented as follows. I have already told you that time. Lewis structure of ozone 246 over oxygen, 2 electron over oxygen, 4 electrons. So the Lewis structure. The single bond is 148 picometer. A double bond is 121 picometer. 121 is lesser than 148. Okay, so this is oscillating. So what is resonance? Resonance, it is the delocalization of the pi electron. So whenever there is a double bond, whenever there is a double bond, one is a sigma bond, another one is a pi bond. So this delocalization of pi bond from between the adjacent molecule, adjacent atoms in the same molecule, it is called resonance. Now keep in mind, note this: 1 picometer is 10 to the power of minus 12 meter. Okay. Then resonance structure you can see already over here. Okay. Now I want you all to practice this properly. Resonating structures of carbon dioxide. These are there in the questions. Carbon dioxide, resonating structures, all these 3 structures. Carbon monoxide, copy them down. You can pause the video and then copy this table, this chart over here. You can pause the video, okay? Copy this chart. Very, very important chart. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. These are all Lewis structures. Using Lewis structures, we are showing the resonating forms. Nitrous oxide, then nitrous acid HONO, then hydrozoic acid HN3, nitric acid. These are all important. Find it. Then moving further to polarity of bonds, polar and non-polar bonds. Non-polar covalent bonds. When the atoms joined by covalent bond are the same, like hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, the shared pair of electrons equally attracted between 2 atoms, and thus the shared electron pair is in the center, equidistant to both of them. Such a bond becomes a non-polar covalent bond. Okay. Alternatively, we can say that it lies exactly in the center of the bonding atoms. As a result, no poles are developed, and the bond is called as non-polar covalent bond. The corresponding molecules are known as non-polar molecules. For example, hydrogen molecule is non-polar, chlorine molecule is non-polar. Okay, but hydrogen chloride can be polar. Over here, hydrogen chloride is polar, hydrogen chloride is polar, hydrogen bromide is polar. But among these 3, the maximum polarity is seen in hydrofluoric acid, hydrogen fluoride. Okay, so that is one concept over here. Polarity of bonds, 2 types are there: non-polar, polar. Okay. Then coming to dipole moment, another important concept in this chapter, in this chemistry. Due to polarity, polar molecules are also known as dipole molecules, and they possess dipole moment. Dipole means having 2 poles in the same molecule. One is of course a positive pole, another one is of course a negative pole. Okay. Now this dipole moment is defined as the product of magnitude of the positive or negative charge and the distance between the charges. You will get a formula for this calculation. Dipole moment mu is equal to charge, it's capital Q, into D. Learn this formula by heart. Dipole moment, the symbol is mu. Okay, and the unit of dipole moment is debye units. 1 debye is 3.3356 for 10 power minus 30 centimeter. Okay. Now dipole moment is a vector quantity. It is depicted by a small arrow with a tail on positive head and head pointing toward the negative center, like this. So if I have example HF, hydrogen fluoride, this is delta positive, this is delta negative. So how do you depict dipole moment? Starting from the positive arrow like this, Dipole moment. Okay. Now, with the help of dipole moment, the degree of polarity of bonds can be expressed. How polar, how more polar, how less polar can be found out. Okay. Now, applications of dipole moment for determining the polarity of the molecules. You can use dipole moment for determining the polarity of molecules in finding the shapes of the molecules. Okay, you can find the shapes of the molecules. Okay, and you can calculate the percentage ionic character of polar bonds. Okay. Then, my dear students, we are heading to the next important topic in this chapter, which is called, of course, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, a very very important theory in this chapter. Now, the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Moving straight to the main postulates of the theory over here. The exact shape of the molecule depends upon the number of electron pairs, whether it is bonded or non-bonded around the central atoms. Okay. Then point number two, the electron pairs have a tendency to repel each other since they exist around the central atom and the electron clouds are negatively charged. Number three, electron pairs try to take such position which can minimize the repulsion between them. So they try to reorder themselves in such a manner that the repulsion is minimized between the electrons because they carry the same charge. The valence shell is taken as a sphere with the electron pairs placed at maximum distance. A multiple bond is treated as if it is a single electron pair and the electron pairs which constitute the bond as single pairs. Okay, so these are some important postulates of the VSEPR theory which I'll be doing in detail by doing particular example later on in this chapter. Okay, so today's chapter is chemical bonding and molecular structure, video number 1. Now, coming to the valence bond theory. This valence bond theory was introduced by Hitler and London and developed by Pauling and others. Okay. Now here, this theory is based on the concept of atomic orbitals and the electronic configuration of the atoms. Now, to understand this in a much better way, I have written down everything in detail over here. Let us consider the formation of hydrogen molecule based on valence bond theory. Let two hydrogen atoms A and B having the nuclei Na and Nb and electrons present in them are E and Eb. As these two atoms come closer, new attractive and repulsive forces begin to operate. The nucleus of one atom is attracted towards its own electron and the electron of the other, and vice versa. That means the nucleus of one atom is attracted towards its own electron. The nucleus of one atom is attracted towards its own electron. Okay. Therefore, repulsive forces arise between the electrons of the two atoms and the nuclei of two atoms. Attractive forces tend to bring the two atoms closer, whereas repulsive forces tend to push them away from each other. Okay. Then, based on this, one orbital overlap concept must be understood. Must be understood properly over here. Let me make this also clear. Now, orbital overlap concept. S orbital are spherical in shape, they will overlap. Dumbbell shaped p orbitals, sideways overlap. P orbitals head on overlap. Head on overlap. So that is called orbital overlap concept. According to orbital overlap concept, covalent bond found between atoms results in the overlap of orbitals belonging to the atoms having opposite spins of electrons. Opposite spins of electrons over here, clockwise and anti-clockwise. Formation of hydrogen molecule as a result of overlap of the two atomic orbitals of hydrogen is shown in the figures that you will see below. Okay. Now, have a look. 1s orbital of hydrogen atom. The nucleus. Okay. Another 1s orbital of hydrogen atom. So they are overlapping. Okay. S overlap. This is called S overlap. Okay. Now, stability of molecular orbitals depends upon the extent of the overlap of the atomic orbitals. Now, looking at the types of orbitals overlap, depending upon the type of overlapping, the covalent bonds are of two types known as sigma and pi bonds. sigma and pi bonds. So, sigma bonds are formed by head or head-on overlap or end-to-end overlap of bonding orbitals along the internuclear axis. The axial overlap involves these orbitals is of three types. First one is SS overlapping, as I've told you, S orbital, end-to-end overlapping. Okay, two spheres overlapping like a Venn diagram. Then sp overlap is also possible. S orbital and p orbital head-on. Okay, proper orientation. Okay, here it is not feasible to do s orbital like this and p orbital like this. This is not feasible. This is improper orientation. This is not correct. This is correct. Okay, this is correct. And there is pp overlapping, p orbitals head on. So there are three types. The first one is ss, this one is sp overlap of orbitals, third one is pp overlap of orbitals. Okay, just keep in mind, s orbitals have a spherical shape, p orbitals have a dumbbell shape. Okay, that is how we get the idea of their overlapping. Now moving to the pi bond, the next covalent bond, that is pi bond, pi bond. Pi bond is formed by the atomic orbitals when they overlap in such a way that their axes remain parallel to each other. That means this is the axis, internuclear axis over here. So they are parallel to each other. That's why when they overlap, this type of overlap results in the formation of pi bond. And perpendicular to the internuclear axis, the orbital formed is due to lateral overlapping or sidewise overlapping. This is called sidewise overlapping. Okay. These are the two types of overlapping which you normally find in this chapter. Okay. Now, strength of sigma and pi, pi. This is pi, pi. Okay, pi bonds. Sigma and pi bonds. Strength. Now, sigma bonds is formed by axial overlapping of the atomic orbitals, while the pi bond is formed by sidewise overlapping. Since axial overlapping is greater as compared to the sidewise, thus the sigma bond is said to be stronger in comparison to the pi bond. So, sigma bond is stronger than pi bond. Remember this. Okay. Now, there is a difference between sigma and pi bonds below. What do you call a difference column over here. Go through this difference properly. Sigma bond number one. Okay. Number one, s orbitals are involved in the formation of sigma bond, whereas for the pi bond, s orbitals are not involved in the formation of a pi bond. Very, very important difference. Then number two, under sigma bond, the overlap is quite large and the bond formed is strong. Sigma bond is strong because overlap is large, whereas pi bond is comparatively weak. It is because it is formed by sidewise overlap. Okay. Number three, under sigma bond, the bond is formed by axial overlap of atomic orbitals, whereas number three, under pi bond, the bond is formed by sidewise overlap of atomic orbitals. Number four, under sigma bond, only one lobe of p orbital is involved. The other lobe is unused. I hope you understand this. Only one lobe, p orbital, another p orbital. This lobe is only involved. Other lobe is unused. Okay. Both lobes of p orbitals involved in the overlap in the case of pi bond. The electron cloud formed is in symmetry. In the pi bond, the electron cloud is unsymmetrical, not distributed equally. Okay. That was all about pi bond. Okay. Now these are the basic things which I have been discussing till now in this chapter. Okay. Basic theory, valence bond theory, basic things. Okay. Now coming to the hybridization. Mixing of atomic orbitals is called hybridization. Now, hybridization, it is a process of intermixing of the orbitals of slightly different energies so as to redistribute the energies, resulting in the formation of a new set of orbitals of equivalent energies and shape. Now looking at the salient features, the first salient features, orbitals with almost equal energy take part in the hybridization. Almost equal energy, they take part in what? Hybridization. Number of hybrid orbitals produced is equal to the number of atomic orbitals mixed. Geometry of covalent molecule can be indicated by the type of hybridization. The hybrid orbitals are more effective in forming stable bonds than the pure atomic orbitals. Okay. Now, the conditions for the hybridization to happen. Orbitals of valence shell take part in hybridization. So, over here, what is important? Valence shell. Okay. Orbitals involved in hybridization should have almost equal energy. Orbitals involved in hybridization should have equal energy. Then promotion of electron is not necessary. condition prior to hybridization. In some cases, filled orbitals of valence shell also take part in hybridization. That means it is possible that orbitals which are filled, containing electrons in the valence shell, they may also participate in hybridization. So these are the important conditions, necessary conditions for hybridization to happen. Now, moving to the type of hybridization, mixing different types. First one is sp, s orbital, p orbital, sp hybridization. Okay, here the important things is in sp hybridization, 50% s character and 50% p character. And this type of hybridization is also known as diagonal hybridization. Okay. Examples are given underneath, like carbon carbon triple bond acetylene, beryllium dichloride, beryllium fluoride, beryllium hydride. These are some examples of compound which exhibit sp hybridization. 50% s, 50% p character. Okay. Example is given over here. Okay. S and p. Then you can see over there your s orbital. This one is the s orbital. Okay, this one is the p orbital. Okay. So they are overlapping head to head-on overlap. Okay. So the electrons are in between. Positive charge over here. Angle is 180 degrees. That is how you get to see sp hybridization. Then moving to another example, beryllium chloride, BeCl2, B over here, Cl over here, Cl over here. Okay, S and P overlap. That is formation of linear BeCl2 molecule. The next one is sp2 hybridization. One s orbital and two p orbitals. Okay. Now here, all the three hybrid orbitals remain in the same plane, making an angle of 120 degrees. Earlier it was about 180. A few compounds with this example, sp2 hybridization takes place BF3, BH3, BCl3 carbon compounds containing double bond, etc. Okay. Here you can see how hybridization is happening. Planar. Okay. Then we have sp3 hybridization. One s orbital and three p orbitals. Okay. So here remember there is 25% s character and 75% p character in each sp3 hybrid orbital. Okay. So diagram will help you understand much more better. S orbital px, py, pz. So after mixing, it becomes something like this. Bond 119, 119.5, 109.5. Okay. Example is methane molecule. It's 109.5 degrees. Then the angle between sp3 hybrid orbital is 109.5 degrees. A compound in which sp hybridization occurs is methane is there, NH3 is there, water is there. Okay, it has been explained below over here. Then we move to formation of molecular orbitals. Formation of molecular orbital linear by the linear combination of atomic orbitals method, LCAO. Here it is very important. The formation of molecular orbitals can be explained by the linear combination of atomic orbital method. Combination takes place either by addition or by subtraction of wave function as shown below. Now you see over here wave function of A, wave function of B. If we add them, addition, then what is happening? The amplitude of the waves, the crest and the trough is increasing. So whenever there is addition, this is resulting psi A plus psi B. This is psi is equal to psi A plus psi B, resultant. That is how addition takes place. Now, if you perform the subtraction of wave functions, so the amplitude is going to decrease. Over here, the crest and the trough is become smaller. Okay, half of the original. Subtraction over here of wave function is done. Atomic orbital 1s, addition is taking place. So this is what is happening. So molecular orbital, this is bonding. Electrons here, positive charge, orient them in a stable manner. Okay, that is formation of bonding molecular orbital. Whenever there is addition of wave functions, it results in the bonding molecular orbital where electrons orient themselves so as to have possess minimum repulsion between them. Okay. Then moving to the uh, antibonding molecular orbitals. Atomic orbital 1s, atomic orbital 1s, nucleus, electron, nucleus, electron. So here, whenever there is such a situation, then electrons come closer to each other. Okay, this way, because this is subtraction, so and the molecular orbitals are formed. Now, here formation of molecular orbital. Let's read this in detail. The molecular orbital formed by addition of atomic orbitals is called bonding molecular orbital, while molecular orbital formed by subtraction of atomic orbitals is called anti-bonding molecular orbital. Conditions for the formation of atomic orbitals. The combining atomic orbitals must have almost equal energy. The combining atomic orbitals must have same symmetry about the molecular axis. The combining atomic orbitals must overlap to a maximum extent. Then only it is possible to uh, form molecular orbitals. Now looking at the types of molecular orbitals, sigma molecular orbitals, they are symmetrical around the bond axis. Pi molecular orbitals, they are not symmetrical because of the presence of positive lobes above and negative lobes below the molecular plane. So when I say positive lobe, this diagram over here, this positive lobe is above the plane. It is, there is a plane over here. Positive lobe is here. Positive lobe is here, and over here below the plane there is negative lobe. This is positive, this is negative. So that is what happens during the formation of anti-bonding molecular orbitals. Okay. Now, after this, the electronic configuration and molecular behavior. This is very important to learn and calculate. The distribution of electrons among various molecular orbitals is called electronic configuration of the molecule. Stability of molecules. Nb stands for number of electrons occupying bonding orbitals. So Nb is for bonding, Na is for anti-bonding. Okay. So if Nb is greater than Na, molecule will be stable. If Nb is less than Na, molecule will be unstable. So remember this. So Nb stands for bonding molecular orbitals. Na stands for anti-bonding molecular orbitals. For the molecule to be stable, the bonding molecular orbitals must be greater than the electrons in the anti-bonding molecular orbitals. Okay. Then coming to the bond order again. Bond order is defined as half of the difference between the number of electrons present in bonding and anti-bonding molecular orbitals. So learn this equation formula. Half of Nb minus Na. This is how we can calculate the bond order. Whether in the molecule the bond is a single bond or a double bond or a triple bond can be understood from this formula. Okay. Just subtract the number of anti-bonding electrons from the bonding electrons and divide it by 2. You will get the bond order. The bond order may be a whole number, it may be a fraction or even 0. Okay. It may also be positive or negative. Now, nature of the bond. Integral bond order value for single, double and triple bond will be 1, 2 and 3 respectively. That is the integral value. For single 1, for double is 2, for triple bond will be 3. Looking at the bond length, bond order is inversely proportional to the bond length. Thus, greater the bond order, smaller will be the bond length. For triple bond, the bond will be shortest. Magnetic nature. If all the molecular orbitals have paired electrons, the substance is diamagnetic. Important point. Okay. If one or more molecular orbitals have unpaired electron, it is paramagnetic. That is example oxygen molecule. Okay. Now, bonding in some homonuclear diatomic molecules. If you look at hydrogen molecule, it is formed by the combination of two hydrogen atoms. Each hydrogen atom has one electron in its 1s orbital. So the electronic configuration of the hydrogen molecule is given below. There are two hydrogen atoms, So for two hydrogen atoms, it is sigma 1s, another is sigma 1s. This is how you write the molecular orbital electronic configuration. So bond order becomes the total two electrons, one electron here, one electron here, so it becomes two electrons. So bond order is half, 2 minus 0, it is 1. Okay. When these two combine, it forms like this, sigma 1s, sigma star 1s. No, so both electrons come over here. That is why getting both these are for bonding. No? So 2 minus 0, so it's coming single bond. Okay. So in later on in this chapter, I'll be trying to discuss almost all the different types of diagrams, molecular orbital diagram. Okay. Now here some electronic configurations are given for helium. What order is completed? Lithium configuration given. What order is completed? Oxygen electronic configuration is given. Okay. Its molecular orbital configuration is also written. This is written over here. One order is completed. Okay. Now in my next video, I will be discussing in detail. The how to draw molecular orbital diagrams for various molecules. After that only I will be discussing hydrogen bonding in my next chapter. Okay. So I would like to end my video class on the chapter chemical bonding and molecular structure here only. Okay, boys. Thank you so much.